everyone, it's Amanda from Willow and Pip. Today I am making a soap, 4 loaves of soap, and the soap is called Sleepwell. I do have the recipe saved. If you take a look in my playlists, I can give you the full recipe. I actually recently got another wholesale order, and so the retailer that purchased from me wants 8 bars of every kind of soap that I have to offer. So, um, although I'm making 8 loaves, which is more than this wholesaler offered, I'm actually completely out of this soap bar. So, I always try to make more than I need, just from an efficiency
So
standpoint,
as I
as I
mentioned,
know
and
it will
just
go
as a
fast.
reminder, if
I
you
hope you enjoy
want the
today's video.
full recipe for making this Sleepwell soap, check out my playlists. I do have recipes up linked. There's a playlist called recipes, and this exact soap recipe is shown step by step. And I do have in the description notes of my recipe videos that you can follow, you can print out, just like as if you were making a batch of cookies or something else that has like a full recipe instruction guide. So for today's video, I thought I would just talk in general about my business and some other tips that you may not get from the step-by-step recipe video. So I sometimes make my soap in a little bit of a different way, meaning I always follow the exact weights, the exact ingredients, but there are some tips and tricks that I use depending on how much I have to make at a time or how much time I have. So sometimes I will weigh my soap or my water and lye solution out in advance and find more often than not I do that. Um, so you can either so right now I'm measuring my water that was in the pitcher there, and here's the lye that I'm measuring out. So you're going to combine the two and mix them until the liquid is clear. You can wait until, and what's going to happen is that mixture is going to heat up quite a bit. So you need a heat gun to make sure that you're adding this lye water to your oil and butter solution at a temperature somewhere between 90 degrees Fahrenheit and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. But that can be challenging because I find, depending on how much scaling up you're doing, so essentially the more lye water you're doing, the hotter it can get, and then it takes a long time to cool off. I have in the past poured this hot lye water solution over top of my hard butters and used that to melt, and you can 100% do that way. Sometimes I do just stir it and wait for the heat to come down to that range of 90 to 100 degrees, 110 degrees. And sometimes I make it ahead, like sometimes it's weeks or even like a month ahead, and I'll just make, maybe 3 or 4 of these lye water solutions, make them ahead, set them aside, and then what I'll do is warm them up in a little bit of like hot water. I'll just put it in my sink and then get that, because obviously over that period of time, the lye water solution will have gone to room temperature. And then I'll just warm it up to about 90 to 110, somewhere in that range degrees with that water, that indirect heat method. So depending on what mood I'm in, depending again, mostly how much time I have and or how many batches of soap I have to make, I sometimes find that just kind of making some of these steps ahead of time can really help, because it can get a little bit overwhelming if you only have a short period of time and you're trying to get this done, before you've got to go pick up a kid or something like that. I find that's when I add pressure to myself and I make mistakes. So what I'm doing here is measuring out all my hard butters and oils. And so in the pot I have my hard butters, that's my coconut oil and my shea butter. And so sometimes I'll even measure that out in pots or big bowls and set those aside. So you can kind of you can pre-measure these and do them in steps. And then when you do have maybe 30 minutes, if you have all of your ingredients pre-measured, ready to go, it can be much, much quicker. So another step is, for this Sleepwell bar, I use purple clay, purple Brazilian clay, and I will kind of spoon out, I would say maybe about 6 tablespoons, just enough until you can get kind of enough oil. But when you make soap, you measure out the hard butters and then you measure out your liquid oils. And so I will take some spoonfuls of the liquid oils um, and put them in this container. And this is how I color my soaps. So what you don't want to do is pre-measure out your liquid oils and then add in like another quarter cup of liquid oils on top of that, because your um, oil to lye water ratio will be off. So if you're doing what I'm doing by coloring, make sure you're scooping out from your existing measured liquid oils. So this is just the pot here. It's a little bit challenging to see, but I have this on a heating element, and so I'm just melting the oils and butter down together. So I've actually combined the hard butters and the liquid oils all into one pot. So you do want them to all to be relatively the same temperature anyway, and I just find this easier. I have found a lot of tutorials where soap makers will do like the indirect method of heating here. I think they're worried about their butters scorching. I've never had an issue, but I do continuously stir, and I have my heating element on like the lowest setting. So it does take a good 10-15 minutes. The shea butter is my hardest butter, so that's the one that takes the longest to melt down. But if you just listen to a podcast, stir away, it's quite doable. I don't mind this step at all. And once even the liquid oils start to heat up, they will start like it just comes exponential the heating. So again, it's not too long, but I'm trying to give you a bit of a real life example. I've obviously sped this video up, but you can see I'm constantly stirring. You can also sort of mush down those chunks, try to kind of chop them in little smaller bits. That'll help with the speed a bit too, but it's just a bit of patience and stirring. So once you have your oils and butters heated, um, I usually find that I'm over a temperature here. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. And again, you want your lye water and your oil and butter, what's in this pot, to be around the same temperature. So 90 to 110 degrees. So sometimes I have to wait a little bit after those oils are melted to let them cool a little bit more. And then this is me just dumping the lye water solution in. I use the little strainer because I don't want little bits of like calcified or like hardened lye getting in my soap batter. And then I simply stick blend. There's no real trick here. You just want to make sure that you've blended the lye water and all the oils and butters together. You'll see the liquid, changing in color. It becomes much more opaque, and then it does start to thicken a little bit. Because I am working with colored, I'm going to actually dump this about approximately half this batter into another container. I don't want to stick blend too much, so you can see I have a very fine trace, very light trace. I just stick blended until I knew that lye water and the oils and butters were mixed. Um, that's me just hand stirring in my essential oils. So I had pre-measured out my essential oils um, and just gently stirring those in so everything's incorporated before I separate the batter into the two mixtures. And the reason I don't want it thick is because I'm going to do a little bit more blending. And in that pitcher that I'm pouring in, I'm going to add that purple Brazilian clay, and the clay will make that batter much thicker. So I don't want to start with too thick of a base to begin with. And again, this was just that oil mixture that I was describing before, where I had added the purple Brazilian clay and I had pre-mixed it quite well. And I have also found that I like to you might think, I want to save a container, and why did I do it in a separate Pyrex? It's because I like to put that clay oil mixture on top. I find if I have it at the base of the pitcher, for example, I'm then kind of scraping the bottom with my spatula, and I'm always worried that when I get to the bottom of the pour, that I'm going to have like clumps that I haven't incorporated. So I have just found that over time, this is a little bit better way to blend it. And you'll probably be able to see here that that purple mix blend is already thicker than the base blend that I don't have any colorant in right now. Soap makers often will put a spatula in the bottom of their soap mold as well before they pour, and that's just so they don't get extra bubbles. I sometimes do that, but more often than not, I just pour it direct. I actually don't find, I've never really noticed a difference. So if that helps you at all, hopefully it does, maybe cut down a step. But all I'm doing here is just eyeballing it. So I'm going to be doing a swirl effect with this purple. So I just, pour maybe a little over a third of the non-colored batter, and then I'm going in with the colored batter. So this is the purple. Because I use natural colorants and actually just the way that the purple Brazilian clay works, it's really hard to see on the camera, but what I am pouring in right now is the purple. Um, it's not really even that the camera isn't picking it up, it's that as the soap cures over time, the purple becomes much more pronounced. But when you first pour it, it's very, very lightly colored purple. So if you're seeing that on your onset, don't panic. That purple, if you're using purple Brazilian clay, it will deepen over time. And by the time you're at your 4-week cure, you'll be able to see the purple just fine. And you'll actually see later in my cut that even overnight, by the time I let the batter harden, the purple is much, much more pronounced even over that short period of time. So I did like a little like back and forth kind of zigzag technique. I just used a butter knife. You can use really anything for that. And then I'm just repeating the steps. So I like to combine the two colors about halfway through the soap mold and then repeat. And then I'll swirl it again. I just find that you get kind of that colored swirl a little bit more consistently in the soap molds, but you can play around with this. I have just poured it halfway and then poured the color and called it a day at that. But again, I just find that if you do it this way, you just get a little bit more of the swirling, which is really the reason why you're taking the time to add the second color this way. So I kind of try not to sell myself short by um, going too quickly. Now, the other reason I might not choose to at this step do it in these kind of 4 pours is if I had over blended or my soap was starting to set up quicker than I'd be comfortable with, I might just go ahead and do, 1 pour then the other, swirl it and call it a day. So that rarely happens. I find the essential oil blend that I have in this recipe, it just sets up beautifully. I don't feel rushed at all. And again, that recipe, if you go into my playlist under recipe, look for the Sleep Well soap, and I have everything measured out in a full tutorial of what I'm adding it, weights, etc. So you can tell just, even over this probably about, 5 minutes it's taking me to pour this um, batter into these molds. You can even tell that the soap's getting thicker and just starting to set up beautifully. I love this recipe. I'm never rushed. It's just the perfect amount of um, viscosity. And so I'm just cleaning up the edges here a little bit. I kind of like to do this at this stage because otherwise I'll get a little bit of a dried lip that I have to kind of crimp off. And I just prefer not to do that. So um, it's the perfect viscosity for doing my little peaks. And you can play around with, you don't have to do peaks, you can do swirls. I like a texture top. You don't even have to though. You could just completely make this smooth. But I like to do this kind of like peaking on either side, and then I'll smush it down in the middle for a little valley, especially for the soaps where I add botanicals on the top. So this one I do add lavender buds. And I find that valley that little groove or ditch, whatever you want to call it, that you'll see me do right in the middle when I'm done. It's like a nice little reservoir that helps keep those botanicals in place. Whereas if I just added it on top of like that little mountain peak, it would still, because it's the liquid, the batter's still liquid, but I just find it holds a little bit better so that when your soap is completely hardened, you get less of those botanicals or the lavender buds falling off, whether it be like when you're cutting the soap or just handling it, wrapping the band around it, or, just putting it in a bag for a customer. I just prefer the little ditch. And this is what I'm referring to as a little ditch. It's just like a little dab. I guess it's maybe I'm describing it incorrectly now that I'm watching myself do it, but it's just like a little flattening of that mountain peak. Um, and that's just exactly where I'll aim to sprinkle the lavender buds. And it's yeah, just enough texture I think to hold them in. I don't really do anything special after this point. It's not like Every once in a while, I have taken like a little poker stick and kind of dabbed them in. I've done both. You don't need to do that. Um, do it if, yeah, do it if you want to. But if you just worked with your soap batter and it was liquid enough for you to mold it like I did, it's still liquid enough that those lavender buds are going to kind of get congealed in the soap batter, and when it hardens it'll be stuck in there. So you should be fine without having to do anything extra at this point. So I've let my soap cure overnight. I don't really time this. It's just like whatever time I get done pouring the soap, and then the next day, whatever time I'm free to cut it. But you kind of get used to when you go to take it out of the mold. If you're, let's just say, for example, I poured late at night, maybe 9 or 10 at night, I probably wouldn't aim to be cutting this soap, at 6 in the morning. But I made this soap kind of midday on the Saturday, and then I cut it midday on the Sunday. So I don't know, 16, 24 hours, somewhere in there, and you're absolutely fine. But, if you do go to take the soap out of the mold and it's just feeling a little bit softer and you're worried that it's going to be you're going to kind of squish it, just plunk it back down in the mold and just wait another, 4 hours, 6 hours, and you'll be fine. I've even gone as long as 2 days. I wouldn't recommend that, but your soap cutter will still get through it. I just start to get nervous that it's really starting to set up at that point, and you don't want to damage that wire on your soap cutter. But once in a blue moon, I have run into a situation where I just couldn't fit it in the next day, and you can cut it the second day. But again, I think I woke up early, got right to it, didn't, it wasn't like a full day of getting home at work at 6 p.m. or something like that. I always cut a little bit of the beginning and the end of the mold, and you'll see me kind of at the end there, I have these like little rectangle cuts. Those are samples. I like to work with a completely square or completely rectangle soap cut. And so I'll actually cut those little end bits and I put them in little bags and I'll give them out as samples, or if someone does like a large wholesale order, I'll give them to that retailer to give out as samples as a little thank you. And of course, if someone orders online, I will often just grab a few of those little sample bars and put them in a little bag with just a little Dymo label for the ingredients and the name of the soap. So if they want to order that, they can. It's kind of a cute little freebie and nice little perk. That's it, folks. I hope you got a lot out of today's video. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. And as always, please subscribe and like for more.